In January of 2022, we filed an access to information request with Transport Canada to obtain all copies of documents regarding the known traveler digital identity project included in Budget 2021, and it's been 3 years. But I finally have the documents back to share with you. There was a juicy tidbit from the May 2021 budget update where the powers that be were tossing around our hard-earned tax dollars like confetti under the guise of supporting tourism, hospitality, arts, and culture throughout the COVID chaos. They proposed a cool $105.3 million plan starting in 2021-2022 with $28.7 million left to amortize like a mortgage that you didn't sign up for and a tidy $10.2 million per year ongoing. And where exactly is it going? Well, to Transport Canada, so they can cozy up with some international bigwigs and globalist control freaks at the World Economic Forum, the WEF, on the Known Traveler Digital Identity Pilot project called KTDI.
The Known Traveler Digital Identity, or KTDI, is a public-private collaboration that enhances security efforts while enabling a connected journey for today's international traveller. Components of the Known Traveller Digital Identity will be championed by the governments of Canada and the Netherlands. Additional partners include Air Canada, KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, Toronto Pearson International Airport, Montreal Trudeau International Airport, and Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, in collaboration with the World Economic Forum and Accenture.
While vaccine passports were being normalized with the scanning of QR codes required to gain access to many places throughout 2021 and 2022, the Known Digital Traveler Identity aimed to develop a known traveler status by tying in attestations from your university, your bank statements, or your vaccination status. This pilot project was to test out fancy tech under the guise of making air travel touchless and secure, which, if you ask me, sounds more like a dystopian corporate surveillance scheme dressed up as convenience.
I see there's one standby seat on another plane leaving tonight. That's reserved for members of our Prime Flight program. You got to be a 4.2 or over to qualify.
Oh, I'm a 4.2.
I'm afraid you're actually a 4.18.
Aside from the fact that there are hundreds of pages redacted in this response, it's clear that the Minister of Transport at the time, Omar Algabra's office, wanted to be briefed on digital ID happenings in preparation for a WEF meeting. Jennifer Sully, the Director of International Relations for Transport Canada, alerted other members of the Transport Minister's office that he would be attending the ITF Summit. That stands for the International Transport Forum. It's an intergovernmental organization with 69 member countries at the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development focused on transport policy think tanks.
We'll debate how to learn from failures, to innovate, and to regenerate in the transformation to more sustainable networks.
Now, the ITF isn't directly related to WEF. That's the globalist private organization that unofficially lobbies businesses, government, and other leaders to shape global agendas at swanky spots like Davos, who somehow have their fingers in everything from climate policies to digital IDs, pushing ideas that ripple out to businesses and governments worldwide. But they do host WEF side events, which is what Algabra's office was trying to get him to partake in, especially if it would benefit the KTDI program. Sully inquires about the WEF Stewards of Mobility side event that has previously drew a lot of the key ministers, including the U.S. Secretary of Transport. The DM, which likely stands for Deputy Minister, attended that summit for the minister, and I presume that means last year. Sully goes on to say that they might want to consider positioning the minister to participate in this WEF session if it has the right profile and some clear benefits to the department and your work on KTDI. She notes that KTDI also made it into the budget, as I said, and is curious about what this means in terms of international engagement on the file. She also wonders if previous Transport Minister Garneau's role/membership on the Board of Stewards for Mobility is transferable to Minister Algabra, showing even more WEF affiliations within the former and probably current Liberal cabinet.
So that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I knows that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
About a week later, John Vello from Transport Canada indicated that the ministry wishes to expand the KTDI program because of COVID. He says that while the digital traveler program has been significantly slowed down because of COVID, the ministry is now exploring to expand the project for the use of other digital credentials to support recovery and modernization of the aviation sector. As media picked up the story in the use of digital identity and travel credentials, a request from Global News' David Aiken put the ministry on high alert to be able to answer questions about this project. Tara O'Byrne, policy advisor at Transport Canada, responds that some of these questions are apparently problematic to answer. The questions posed by Aiken include things like, is the pilot project still underway? How many Canadians participated? Are there visuals of the documentation used or airport equipment used? How many Dutch travelers, because this was a partnership with them, how many Dutch travelers came to Canada through this project? Which biometric identifiers are being used or considered, i.e. retina scan versus fingerprints? He asks which airports were involved, if the program was voluntary, and what types of information was collected, before asking what authority is responsible for verifying or vouching the information on a KTDI. While O'Byrne noted that the first half of the questions could be answered, the other half would need more time to ponder because they're more complex to answer. And then conveniently, all of the media responses are redacted in this response. So this project, nestled within Transport Canada's budget under the flimsy banner of tourism and hospitality support, isn't just about touchless travel or convenience. It's a stepping stone to a world where your university records, bank statements, and vaccination status are stitched together into a digital leash, all under the watchful eye of the government and globalist elites at the World Economic Forum, sold to the public as being for their safety and convenience. These internal emails reveal a frantic scramble within then Transport Minister Algabra's office to align with WEF agendas. From Jennifer Sully's push to position the minister at a high-profile Stewards of Mobility side event, previously attended by the likes of the U.S. Secretary of Transport, to John Vello's admission that COVID provided an excuse to expand KTDI's reach, the intent is clear. This isn't about recovery, it's about re-engineering how we move, live, and ultimately exist. They wanted to harness the chaos of the pandemic to normalize a system where digital credentials dictate your freedom. And when the media dared to ask some maybe tough questions, but just questions in general, how many Canadians were guinea pigs in this pilot and what biometric data was being harvested, who verifies it, Transport Canada squirmed. They weren't ready for the spotlight, probably because normalizing the invasive collection of biometric data, location tracking, banking details, and vaccination records feels like an innovation more into a communist China party playbook than the freedom and liberties we're used to here in the West. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. You can help support this work by heading over to rebelinvestigates.com and chipping in whatever you're able to there. At that website, you can also check out all of our previous reports and stay up to date if you wish. That's rebelinvestigates.com. Thanks in advance for your support.